On June 14, 2025, at 9:23 a.m., the USS Princeton was cruising through the South China Sea on a routine freedom of navigation patrol. Nothing unusual until her radar picked up something that could have sparked a global crisis. A Chinese Type 052D destroyer, which had been hanging around 200 kilometers away, suddenly sped up from 18 to 30 knots in less than 2 minutes. What the Americans didn't know was that the ship's captain had just received orders from Beijing, intercept the US and force them to back down. But challenging a US carrier strike group in open water is never a smart idea. The Nimitz strike group was nearby, doing what the US Navy has done for decades, keeping international sea lanes open so global trade can flow. They were 180 nautical miles from Chinese territory, right in the middle of waters where $3.4 trillion worth of goods move every year. By 9:26, the radar team had confirmed the contact. A Chinese destroyer, assessed as a moderate to high threat. Inside the Princeton's combat center, the tactical action officer calmly tracked the ship's movements. With 122 missile cells ready to fire, the Americans weren't exactly nervous. The Chinese ship could launch YJ-18 anti-ship missiles that would reach them in under 4 minutes, but the Princeton's SM-6 missiles had a range of 240 nautical miles, more than enough to shoot them down. At 9:29, the captain asked for the likely intent of the Chinese ship. The answer was clear. At its current speed, it would be within weapons range in 14 minutes. The recommendation was to sound general quarters, but the captain stayed cool. "Let's see how badly they want to embarrass themselves," he said. Meanwhile, the South China Sea was crowded with merchant ships, 46 commercial vessels within 50 miles, including a Singaporean container ship full of semiconductors and a South Korean LNG tanker worth $200 million. All of them depended on the US Navy to keep the waters safe. At 9:30, the Princeton systems automatically shared the threat data with the rest of the strike group. The Nimitz adjusted flight operations, while destroyers Chung-hoon and Kidd moved into protective positions around the carrier. By 9:35, things escalated. An E-2D Hawkeye flying overhead detected multiple aircraft launching from the Chinese carrier Shandong. They were J-15 fighters climbing south. But the US controllers noticed something almost comical. The jets were struggling to gain altitude, likely because of fuel limits from their ski-jump launch system. Then sonar picked up a submarine 80 nautical miles away. It was a Chinese Type 039 diesel-electric sub, but it was so noisy it might as well have been a freight train underwater. Any skilled submarine crew would have been embarrassed. The Chinese weren't just being aggressive. They were trying to stage a multi-domain intimidation campaign. But with outdated equipment and sloppy execution, it looked more like a show than a real threat.